The Many Faces of the Hulk, Bruce Banner's Fractured Mind. Bruce Banner. Before the Hulks came crashing onto battlefields, there was Robert Bruce Banner, a boy genius with the kind of childhood that cracked his mind wide open. His father, Brian Banner, was a violent alcoholic who feared and hated Bruce from the start. Brian was convinced the boy's intellect was unnatural, even monstrous. His paranoia turned into abuse, and young Bruce grew up in a house filled with shouting, broken bottles, and constant fear. When Bruce's mother, Rebecca, tried to shield him, Brian killed her. That trauma never left. It stayed buried, waiting for something to rip it open. On the surface, Banner became a prodigy. He mastered nuclear physics, earned multiple PhDs, and ended up at a US military base working on the Gamma bomb. But brilliance masked fragility. Banner carried layers of repression, shame, and guilt that shaped every alter ego that would later emerge. When the bomb test went wrong and Bruce threw himself into the blast zone to save teenager Rick Jones, gamma radiation rewired him forever. From then on, the trauma had a body. The Hulk wasn't just created in that moment, the seeds were planted years earlier in Bruce's fractured psyche. Psychologists in the comics have even framed the Hulk as a dissociative identity disorder case. Banner's mind splintering into different personalities, each one carrying a piece of what he couldn't process as a child. Rage, guilt, fear, survival instincts, all of it fractured into separate beings. Banner himself is the anchor, but also the most fragile part of the system. He's the scientist who keeps trying to find a cure, the man haunted by what his father did. The tragic figure who knows every Hulk is part of him whether he accepts it or not. Before Joe Fixit's sarcasm, before Maestro's tyranny, before Immortal Hulk's horror, it all starts here, with a boy who survived abuse, grew into a genius, and unknowingly built a mind that could house an army of monsters. Savage Hulk. When people think of the Hulk, this is the version burned into pop culture. A towering green giant, barely able to speak, smashing everything in sight. Savage Hulk isn't just Banner's alter ego, he's Banner's inner child given muscle and rage. The personality emerged from the earliest Hulk comics in the 1960s and quickly became the default version most readers recognize. Psychologists inside the Marvel Universe have described Savage Hulk as a frozen emotional state. He talks like a child, often referring to himself in the third person. Hulk is the strongest there is. That speech pattern reflects the trauma Banner suffered as a boy, especially the abuse from his father. In Savage Hulk, that scared, angry child becomes the most physically powerful being alive. Savage Hulk's strength has no ceiling. It grows as his anger grows. That's why he's been able to hold up entire mountains, trade blows with cosmic beings, and tear through nearly every superhero team at some point. He's fought Thor, the Avengers, even the Fantastic Four, and in each case, his raw fury made him nearly unstoppable. Yet his mind stays simple. He wants peace, safety, and above all, to be left alone. When those things are threatened, the smashing begins. This version also cemented Hulk's pop culture legacy. The 1970s Incredible Hulk TV show with Lou Ferrigno, the animated series, and countless adaptations all leaned on the Savage Hulk persona. Kids wore Hulk Smash t-shirts because this was the Hulk the world saw first and loudest. But behind the catchphrases and destruction is a tragic layer. Savage Hulk represents Bruce Banner's most vulnerable self. Not the scientist, not the warrior, not the tyrant. He's the scared boy who never healed, transformed into an unstoppable force. That's why Savage Hulk remains the most iconic of them all. Raw, furious, and unforgettable. And here's an opinion worth sitting with. The Green Hulk's rage will forever be capable of conquering all. Because the angrier he gets, the stronger he becomes. There is no upper limit. No ceiling on what Savage Hulk can achieve once pushed far enough. Every insult, every attack, every tragedy piled onto Bruce Banner's broken shoulders just feeds the engine. While other Hulk personas rely on strategy or cunning, Savage Hulk relies on something far more primal and far more dangerous. Pure, limitless fury. Villains who face him don't just face a strong opponent, they face a force of nature that grows more overwhelming with every blow they land. That's not a weakness, that's the most terrifying kind of power imaginable. You can outsmart a genius, you can outmaneuver a warrior, but you cannot outrun a storm that gets bigger the harder you fight it. Joe Fixit. In the late 1980s, Marvel gave Hulk a makeover that nobody saw coming. Gone was the raging, childlike monster. In his place stood a gray-skinned enforcer prowling the neon nights of Las Vegas. His name, Joe Fixit. This version of Hulk didn't live in caves or smash tanks. He wore tailored suits, worked as hired muscle for casino bosses, and thrived in the city's underworld. Joe wasn't the strongest Hulk ever, but what he lacked in raw power, he made up for in street smarts. He was sarcastic, sly, and calculating, a Hulk who knew how to hustle. The change came from Marvel experimenting with the character. The very first Hulk back in 1962 was actually gray, before printing problems turned him green. Years later, writer Peter David brought that idea back, turning Hulk into a Vegas mobster. Suddenly, the book had a noir, almost crime drama feel. Stories revolved around gangsters, shady deals, and Joe juggling Banner's curse with the perks of power in Sin City. Joe Fixit became iconic for how different he was. He smoked cigars, cracked jokes, and leaned into vices the other Hulks never cared about. Fans were surprised at how well it worked. The Vegas setting gave Hulk new life, and Joe became a cult favorite. Artists even gave him a leaner build than Savage Hulk, fitting the image of a sharp-dressed brawler rather than a walking earthquake. Over time, Joe Fixit didn't stay locked in Vegas. He resurfaced in later comics, including modern runs where Banner's multiple personalities share headspace. Recently, he's had a comeback in Immortal Hulk, and even headlined his own limited series in 2023, proving he still resonates decades later. For decades, Bruce Banner's life was a tug-of-war. The genius scientist on one side, the raging green monster on the other. Then came one of the strangest and most stable twists in Hulk history, the emergence of Professor Hulk, also known as the Merged Hulk. In the early 1990s, writer Peter David pushed the character into new territory. Instead of endless battles between Banner and Hulk, Marvel fused them. Banner's brain, Savage Hulk's strength, and Joe Fixit's confidence combined into a single personality. Suddenly, Hulk was no longer a destructive wild card. He was a functioning Avenger who could throw tanks and then design blueprints for a gamma reactor in the same afternoon. This version stood out visually, too. Artists gave him a massive but clean-cut look, green skin, big frames, and often a lab coat or armor. He wasn't hiding in shadows or smashing randomly through towns. He was speaking in full sentences, cracking witty lines, and working as a team player. For the first time, Hulk was seen not as a curse, but as a hero in control. The run had a major impact. Professor Hulk became a fan favorite in the 90s, appearing across comics, cartoons, and video games. Decades later, the MCU brought him back in Avengers Endgame, when Bruce Banner revealed he had merged with Hulk, finally achieving balance. The movie leaned heavily on the Professor Hulk template, calm, friendly, and selfie-ready with fans, while still tossing trucks around during battle. Not everyone loved it, though. Some readers felt the raw danger that made Hulk exciting was missing. Yet Professor Hulk's significance is undeniable. He proved that Hulk could evolve, adapt, and shock readers in new ways. Worldbreaker Hulk. When Hulk was banished from Earth, the Illuminati thought they were saving the world from his rampages. Instead, they created something far worse. The ship they sent him on crash-landed on the planet Sakaar, where Hulk fought as a gladiator, became a warlord, and for the first time built a life he wanted. He found love with Kyra, led the Warbound, and was celebrated as a hero. Then tragedy hit. The ship that carried him to Sakaar exploded, killing Kyra and countless others. In that moment, something inside Hulk snapped forever. What came back to Earth was Worldbreaker Hulk, the most dangerous version ever seen. His power levels were beyond anything the Avengers had faced. Even his calm footsteps caused earthquakes, and his rage threatened to shatter the planet itself. In the World War Hulk storyline in 2007, he returned not as a monster or an out-of-control child, but as a general leading an invasion. His target was clear: every hero who betrayed him. The battles that followed were brutal. Hulk fought Iron Man in his most advanced armor and crushed it. He battled the X-Men and left them broken. The Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, and nearly every major Marvel hero fell before him. The rampage reached New York City, where Hulk forced the Illuminati to fight in gladiatorial games as payback for what he endured on Sakaar. Worldbreaker Hulk's strength pushed beyond imagination. At one point, his energy threatened to split the Earth apart. It took the Sentry, Marvel's Superman-level powerhouse, to finally stand against him. Their fight shook Manhattan to rubble. When it ended, Banner's fury collapsed into grief, and the rampage stopped. Devil Hulk. Buried deep inside Bruce Banner's mind is an altar that doesn't rage or sulk. It waits. Devil Hulk is one of the oldest personalities in Banner's fractured psyche, described as the embodiment of all his hatred, bitterness, and suppressed desires for revenge. Unlike Savage Hulk or Worldbreaker Hulk, Devil Hulk isn't about raw destruction. He's about control, patience, and cruelty. First appearing in the late 1990s, Devil Hulk is often portrayed as a serpent-like figure haunting Banner's subconscious. He whispers promises of dominance and freedom, constantly urging Banner to let him out. The personality stems from Bruce's childhood trauma, representing the twisted paternal figure that never protected him, a mirror of the abusive father who destroyed his home. Instead of lashing out like a child, Devil Hulk broods like an adult predator, waiting for the chance to surface. What makes this altar terrifying isn't his physical strength, but his intent. Devil Hulk despises humanity. He sees the world as corrupt and believes only the Hulk should rule. When he's briefly taken control, his words and actions show a vision of Hulk not as a misunderstood hero, but as a conqueror who believes destruction is justice. Writers have used him sparingly, which makes every appearance memorable. In Immortal Hulk, Al Ewing expanded the altar's role, giving Devil Hulk a more paternal relationship with Banner. He often appeared as a voice of reason, twisted reason, but reason nonetheless, encouraging Hulk to embrace his true nature rather than fight it. Visually, artists depict him with darker tones, often reptilian features, making him stand apart from the other Hulks. Where Savage Hulk is muscle and chaos, Devil Hulk is dread and inevitability. Immortal Hulk. In 2018, Marvel reimagined the Hulk in a way that stunned even longtime fans. Writer Al Ewing launched Immortal Hulk, and suddenly the Green Goliath became the centerpiece of a horror story. This altar tapped into an ability that had always been hinted at but never explored fully. Hulk cannot die. If Bruce Banner is killed during the day, the Hulk emerges at night, clawing his way back no matter the wound. Shot in the head, burned, poisoned, it didn't matter. As long as night fell, the Hulk returned. This resurrection power transformed him into something mythic, a figure of cosmic dread rather than just brute force. The storytelling leaned into gothic and body horror. The series depicted grotesque transformations, shadowy imagery, and villains pulled straight out of nightmares. Immortal Hulk was breaking through the boundaries of life and death. In one arc, he confronted the One Below All, a terrifying cosmic entity tied to hell itself, adding layers of religious and philosophical weight to the character. What set this version apart was tone. Every issue read like a modern horror comic disguised as a superhero book. Banner struggled with morality, mortality, and the realization that Hulk might not just be a curse, he might be something eternal. Supporting characters like Jackie McGee, a journalist chasing Hulk, deepened the eerie atmosphere, grounding the supernatural elements in real human reactions. Critics and fans embraced it. Immortal Hulk ran for 50 issues and is widely considered one of the best Marvel series of the 21st century. It pushed Hulk beyond the smash stereotype and into a space that made him terrifying, tragic, and fascinating all at once. Doc Green. In 2014, Marvel unveiled a Hulk that wasn't a raging child, a mobster, or a horror figure. This time, gamma radiation gave birth to a strategist, Doc Green. Introduced during the Avengers and Age of Ultron tie-ins and expanded in the Hulk series from 2014 to 2015, this altar merged Hulk's power with Banner's intellect, but stripped away empathy. The result was chilling. A Hulk who thought like a scientist, but acted like a surgeon removing a disease. Doc Green's mission was clear: eliminate gamma mutations from the world. Armed with an extremis cure, he hunted down other gamma characters one by one. Red Hulk, A-Bomb, She-Hulk, Scar all faced his scalpel-like precision. He was calculating, clinical, and relentless, turning on his own kind in the name of fixing them. This personality came out of a specific moment in Marvel history. After being shot in the head and undergoing surgery, Banner's brain chemistry was altered. Combined with the extremis virus, it produced a new personality when he transformed. Doc Green emerged confident, arrogant, and with no patience for weakness.
Unlike Professor Hulk, who tried to balance Banner's compassion with Hulk's strength, Doc Green embodied cold logic. The run explored what happens when Hulk stops smashing and starts planning. He built advanced tech, worked with AI, and approached battles like equations to be solved. But the longer he operated, the more unstable he became. His arrogance alienated allies, and his obsession with curing gamma powers raised ethical alarms. Doc Green didn't last long, but his presence left a mark. Mindless Hulk.
There are times when Bruce Banner's fragile mind slips so far into the background that nothing remains but instinct. That's when the mindless Hulk appears. A version of the Green Goliath stripped of reason, language, or restraint. This isn't the childlike Savage Hulk or the scheming Joe Fixit. This is Hulk reduced to an unstoppable engine of destruction. The mindless Hulk first surfaced in the early 1980s during Bill Mantlow's Incredible Hulk run. Doctor Strange banished Hulk into a dimensional crossroads to prevent him from harming Earth, and what emerged was raw fury given form. Without Banner's conscience guiding him, this Hulk wandered through alien worlds, smashing anything in his path. For nearly 2 years of stories, readers followed a creature who could barely think beyond survival and violence. This version's power was staggering. With no intellect to temper him, every ounce of his body focused on rage. He tore through interdimensional foes, cosmic entities, and entire landscapes. On Earth, appearances of the mindless Hulk have often been treated as cataclysmic events, situations where even the strongest heroes could only slow him down. Mindless Hulk stories highlight the most terrifying possibility inside Banner. What if the man is gone completely, leaving only the monster? Readers saw a being that couldn't be reasoned with, bargained with, or even distracted. He simply advanced, smashing endlessly until stopped by overwhelming force or mystical intervention. Cl. Among Hulk's long list of alters, none raised eyebrows quite like Cl. Introduced in 2014 during the Axis crossover event, Cl was built as the Hulk's Hulk, a gray-skinned, towering figure who surfaced when Hulk's emotions sank into despair. Where most Hulk transformations were tied to rage, Cl was born from grief, depression, and sorrow. The idea came from the magical inversion spell at the center of Axis. During that storyline, heroes and villains had their moral alignments flipped. For Bruce Banner, this triggered the emergence of a new persona buried deep inside his psyche. Cl was massive, scarred, and far more sadistic than the other Hulks. Unlike Savage Hulk's childlike simplicity, Cl reveled in cruelty, tearing through opponents with deliberate malice. In his debut, Cl nearly destroyed the Avengers single-handedly. He shrugged off Thor's hammer strikes, clashed with Iron Man in his most advanced armor, and left a trail of wreckage across cities. His design set him apart: darker skin, glowing red eyes, and body markings that made him look more like a demon than a superhero gone wrong. Despite the raw power and intimidation factor, Cl didn't resonate with fans in the same way as Worldbreaker Hulk or Immortal Hulk. Many readers felt the concept was over the top, almost like Marvel stacking another alter on the pile without the depth of earlier personalities. Still, his short-lived run left a mark, showing how elastic Hulk's mythos had become by the 2000s. Maestro. In 1992, Marvel gave readers a glimpse of a nightmare future in Incredible Hulk, Future Imperfect. The world had been ravaged by nuclear war, cities reduced to wastelands, and humanity pushed to the brink. Out of the ashes rose Maestro, a twisted future version of the Hulk who ruled as a tyrant. Maestro combined Hulk's limitless strength with Banner's intelligence, but years of radiation and trauma warped his mind into something cold and merciless. He wasn't fighting for justice or survival anymore. He was ruling with an iron fist, wearing a white beard and draped in trophies of fallen heroes: Captain America's shield, Thor's hammer, even Iron Man's armor. Maestro became a chilling reminder of what unchecked Hulk could become. In Future Imperfect, an older Rick Jones brings the present-day Hulk into this dystopian timeline to stop his future self. The battles between Hulk and Maestro were legendary, pitting the hero against the ultimate reflection of his darkest potential. Maestro wasn't just stronger from decades of absorbing radiation, he was cunning, patient, and had no moral restraints. Fans view him as one of Hulk's greatest villains, not because he's another alter from inside Banner's mind, but because he represents Hulk's future if all hope is lost. That's what makes Maestro so haunting.
He's not a what-if pulled from another dimension. He's a warning dressed in a cape. Green Scar. When Hulk crash-landed on the planet Sakaar, he was no longer the mindless brute the Avengers feared. In this war-torn world, he became something new. Green Scar, a hardened warrior who learned strategy, discipline, and leadership. This identity was forged in the fires of gladiator arenas, where Hulk fought as a slave for the amusement of Sakaar's Red King. The battles tested him in ways Earth never had.
Stripped of allies and hounded by alien technology designed to control him, Hulk adapted. He fought alongside fellow gladiators who became his warbound, loyal comrades who followed him into every arena and later into revolution. As Green Scar, Hulk wasn't just swinging fists wildly. He was leading charges, commanding forces, and outthinking enemies. Green Scar's legacy didn't stop on Sakaar. When Kyera and millions of innocents died in the explosion that destroyed their world, grief twisted this version into something far more terrifying. The disciplined warrior became the foundation for Worldbreaker Hulk, the altar who nearly shattered Earth in World War Hulk. Fans often point to Green Scar as one of the richest developments in Hulk's history, showing how he could evolve into a leader, a husband, and even a king. The Guilt Hulk. Inside Bruce Banner's fractured psyche lives an altar that isn't about anger or domination, but about shame. The Guilt Hulk is one of the most disturbing personalities, representing Banner's crushing self-loathing and unresolved trauma. Unlike Savage Hulk or Worldbreaker Hulk, this version rarely appears in battle. Instead, it haunts Banner's subconscious as a grotesque skeletal figure. The Guilt Hulk first appeared in Incredible Hulk number 377 in 1991, during writer Peter David's psychological deep dives into Banner's mind. When Doc Samson, a gamma-powered psychiatrist, helped Banner undergo therapy, readers got their first real look inside his mental landscape. There, the Guilt Hulk lurked as a twisted specter, gaunt and monstrous, symbolizing everything Banner hated about himself, from the abuse he endured as a child to the destruction caused whenever Hulk lost control. Unlike other alters, the Guilt Hulk doesn't smash or scheme. His weapon is psychological torment. He whispers, accuses, and drags Banner through the memories he wants to bury. Writers have used this persona sparingly, which makes his presence more impactful. Whenever he surfaces, it's usually tied to Banner's lowest points, moments of collapse when guilt outweighs anger. Savage Banner. For years, readers assumed Hulk's transformations always pulled Bruce Banner away from the violence. Banner was the mind, the frail scientist, while the Hulks carried the muscle and fury. But in some stories, Marvel flipped that expectation on its head. There are moments when Bruce himself, without the Hulk's green skin or gamma bulk, becomes dangerously unstable. That's where the Savage Banner persona enters the picture. This identity emerges when Banner's trauma surfaces directly, bypassing Hulk entirely. He lashes out with cruelty and aggression, not powered fists but human malice. Savage Banner first showed up during the early 2000s and has been explored in runs like Immortal Hulk, where writers dug deep into the psychology of Banner's fractured mind. Here, it became clear that the monster lives in the man who created him. In practice, Savage Banner reflects the darkest truth of Hulk's mythology, that Bruce's abusive upbringing didn't just spawn alter egos, it corrupted Banner himself. At times, he's portrayed as coldly violent, manipulative, or driven by impulses every bit as destructive as Hulk's. Without the green form to distract from his actions, readers are left staring at the fact that Banner's own choices can be just as terrifying. Savage Banner doesn't appear often, but whenever he does, it leaves an impact. It strips away the excuse that Hulk alone carries the blame for destruction. Instead, it shows that Banner is more than a victim of gamma radiation. He's a man whose own mind, unrestrained, can be just as monstrous as any alter hiding inside. The Red Hulk problem. It's worth pausing to ask a question that the comics themselves eventually had to wrestle with. When does the Hulk mythos stop being about Bruce Banner and start becoming something else entirely? Because Hulk's world expanded beyond Banner's own splintered mind into entirely different people transforming into Hulk-like beings. General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, Banner's lifelong military pursuer and the father of his love Betty, became the Red Hulk. She-Hulk, Scar, A-Bomb, all of them brought gamma power into a wider universe. But none of them carry what makes Banner's story so deeply human. The fractured psychology, the childhood abuse, the mind that cracked and kept cracking
until it built an entire civilization of personalities just to survive. That's the thing about Banner that no other Gamma-powered character can replicate. His alters aren't superpowers, they're survival mechanisms. Every single Hulk that emerged from his body and mind, from the childlike rage of Savage Hulk to the cold cunning of Doc Green to the eternal horror of Immortal Hulk, was built from pain. They are Bruce Banner's wounds given form, given muscle, given voice. And at the center of all of it, the Hulk's rage within Bruce will forever be capable of conquering all.
Because the angrier he gets, the stronger he becomes. That's not just a comic book rule, it's the emotional truth of the entire mythology. Banner has been abandoned, abused, exiled, manipulated, shot, blown up, and betrayed by nearly every institution and person he ever trusted. And every single time the world pushed him down, the Hulk made it known that he isn't having it. Stronger than before, his fury compounds and his power grows. There is no punishment the universe can hand Bruce Banner that doesn't ultimately make the Hulk more dangerous. That's the cruel irony buried at the heart of this character. The more they hurt him, the more unstoppable he becomes. And that's it. Now to you. If Bruce Banner's mind can split into so many alters, how many more are still buried inside, waiting for the right moment to break out? And do you think the world will ever stop handing Banner reasons to be angry, knowing full well what happens when it does? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this.